Imagine a world where two superpowers are locked in a fierce battle, not on the battlefield, but in the vast expanse of space. The Cold War was a time when the Soviet Union and America were engaged in a relentless pursuit of international prestige, with the space race being the ultimate prize. But at what cost? The story of Vladimir Komarov, a Soviet cosmonaut who became the first person to die in a spaceflight-related accident, is a stark reminder of the risks and sacrifices made during this tumultuous period. By the mid-1950s, the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union had worked its way into the fabric of everyday life in both countries, fueled by the arms race and the growing threat of nuclear weapons. October 4th, 1957. The USSR successfully launched Sputnik 1, the first Earth-orbiting satellite in history.
CBS Television presents a special report on Sputnik 1, the Soviet space satellite. Douglas Edwards reporting.
Until 2 days ago, that sound had never been heard on this Earth. Suddenly, it has become as much a part of 20th century life as the whir of your vacuum cleaner. It's a report from man's farthest frontier, the radio signal transmitted by the Soviet Sputnik, the first man-made satellite as it passed over New York earlier today. One of the places where the progress of the satellite is being watched most closely is the Hayden Planetarium in New York. CBS News correspondent Richard C. Hottelet reports from there now.
Doug, we're in the great dome of the Hayden Planetarium in New York, and I have with me Dr. Kenneth Franklin, an astronomer on the planetarium staff. Dr. Franklin, can you tell us where the Sputnik is now and how it's moving?
Right now it's north of Auckland, New Zealand, and moving southeast. It will be, in 10 minutes, about 1,500 miles north of Little America, and in about 24 minutes it will be over Santiago, Chile, and in about 50 minutes from now it will be over Spain.
Well, it looks as though it'll be missing the United States on this trip.
That's quite correct, it will.
But it does come over here periodically, doesn't it?
It comes over here at least twice a day and maybe more.
Getting back to this track, is it possible that it is transmitting a code, not just a beep signal for radio listening?
Yes, it's quite possible that it's transmitting a code, but we don't realize what the code is, of course.
November 3rd, 1957. The USSR successfully launches Sputnik 2, carrying a dog named Lei Ka into space. They become the first nation to successfully send a living organism into orbit. January 31st, 1958. The United States enter the space race by launching Explorer 1, the first U.S. satellite to reach orbit. It carried experimental equipment that led to the discovery of the Van Allen radiation belt. October 1st, 1958. NASA is founded.
For the first flight, we will have developed our Mercury spaceship to the point where it will be as reliable as man can devise. Today we are introducing to you and to the world these 7 men who have been selected to begin training for orbital space flight.
I feel that this is the future of not only this country but the world. We've gone about as far as we can on this globe, and we have to start looking around a bit. And it's just the natural expansion of flight.
August 2nd, 1959. The United States launches Explorer 6, the world's first weather satellite, and obtains the first pictures of Earth from space.
Explorer 6, the paddle wheel satellite, shown before launching. The vanes jutting from the 2-foot sphere contain tiny cells to convert solar energy into power for the Explorer's battery of radio equipment and instruments. Carried into orbit by an Air Force Thor Able rocket, the satellite will measure the Earth's radiation belts and magnetic field. And perhaps most impressive of all, will relay back crude pictures of the globe and its cloud cover from the vantage of outer space.
September 12, 1959. The USSR launches Luna 2 and accomplishes its mission of creating the first spacecraft to reach the surface of the moon.
Soviet Russia scores a dramatic victory in the exploration of space with the launching of the first rocket to hit the moon, and gives Khrushchev a propaganda bonus on the eve of his visit to America. Moscow shot for the moon and scored a bullseye.
August 19, 1960. The USSR launches Sputnik 5 carrying 2 dogs into space. January 31st, 1961. NASA sends a chimpanzee into space. April 12, 1961. The first man in space.
On the 12th of April, 1961, a Soviet Air Force pilot, Yuri Gagarin, became the first human to blast into space.
Yuri Gagarin makes a single orbit around the Earth and becomes the first man to reach space. He remained in space for 1 hour and 48 minutes before landing in Saratov Oblast, West Russia.
The Red Square. The man who has been in outer space has now returned to the heart of the Soviet Union.
Man in space to the show.
Excuse me, what do you think of the news?
I think it's fantastic.
Well, I can tell you he's now back, safe and sound.
Really? I didn't think he would get back.
Man in space.
What do you feel about this generally? Do you think the Russians have whacked us?
Definitely. I really do. I think it's a marvelous achievement. I think there'll soon be a man on the moon at this rate.
May 5th, 1961. The first American in space. Alan Shepard did not orbit the Earth, but he was in space for 15 minutes. June 16, 1963. Valentina Tereshkova becomes the first civilian and first woman in space. She spends almost 3 days in space, orbiting the Earth 48 times aboard her spacecraft, Vostok 6.
And as the first ever space girl, Valentina Tereshkova, here with Colonel Bukovsky, has won a place in history. What a triumph for Russian science. No wonder the whole Soviet Union took her to its heart.
(1967). Vladimir Komarov was born in Moscow on March 16, 1927. Known for his passion for flight from a young age, Komarov joined the Soviet Air Force at the tender age of 15. And by 1949, he was already a pilot. As the competition between the Soviet Union and America intensified, both countries were willing to cut corners to achieve their goals. The pressure to reach milestones and claim victories led to avoidable accidents and tragedies. Little did Komarov know that he would become a victim of this relentless pursuit of glory. Komarov once said, "Whoever has flown once, whoever has piloted an airplane once, will never want to part with either an aircraft or the sky." This quote perfectly encapsulates his deep connection to aviation and his unwavering dedication to his craft. In 1959, Komarov graduated from the prestigious Zhukovsky Air Force Engineering Academy, further solidifying his expertise in the field. His passion and skill did not go unnoticed, and he was soon selected as one of the first Soviet cosmonauts. Komarov's age and engineering experience set him apart from the other candidates. Despite the strict age limit of 27 for the Air Force Group 1, Komarov's exceptional abilities in mathematics and engineering earned him a spot among the 20 chosen members. Although not initially selected for the first space flights, Komarov played a crucial role in the program by assisting with aircraft production. His hard work and dedication paid off when he was chosen for the multi-manned Voskhod mission. The Voskhod mission was a short but significant flight during which numerous scientific tests were conducted. Komarov's performance during this mission earned him the highest award in the Soviet Union, the Hero of the Soviet Union Medal. Little did anyone know that this would be Komarov's first and last successful mission. His next assignment, the Soyuz 1 mission, would prove to be his most challenging and ultimately fatal endeavor. The Soyuz 1 spacecraft, designed to take Soviet cosmonauts to new heights, was plagued with design flaws that Komarov repeatedly pointed out to his superiors. However, his concerns fell on deaf ears, and the mission proceeded as planned. The dynamic between Komarov and his fellow cosmonaut, Yuri Gagarin, added another layer of complexity to the situation. Gagarin, the first man to orbit the Earth and a national hero, wanted to take on the mission himself. He believed that by putting himself in harm's way, he could force the Soviet leadership to address the spacecraft's issues and ensure a safer mission. Komarov, however, had other plans. He accepted the mission, not out of recklessness or ambition, but out of a deep sense of loyalty to his friend. Komarov knew that if Gagarin were to fly the mission, the Soviet leadership might not prioritize the necessary improvements, putting his life at risk. By taking on the mission himself, Komarov hoped to protect Gagarin from potential harm. On April 23, 1967, Komarov embarked on his fateful journey aboard the Soyuz 1 spacecraft. As he orbited the Earth 16 times over the course of 24 hours, problems began to arise. One of the two solar panels designed to supply energy for crucial maneuvers failed to deploy, leaving Komarov with limited power and options. The Soviet leadership, faced with this setback, made the decision to cancel the launch of the second module and instructed Komarov to return to Earth. Little did they know that this decision would seal Komarov's fate. As Komarov attempted to guide the spacecraft back to Earth, he encountered numerous difficulties. The rocket brakes he so desperately needed to slow his descent failed to fire properly, leaving him at the mercy of gravity's relentless pull. At an altitude of 23,000 feet, Komarov's last hope for survival, his parachute, was supposed to deploy and guide him safely back to Earth. However, in a cruel twist of fate, the parachute lines had become tangled during his re-entry troubles, rendering the device useless. On April 24, 1967, Vladimir Komarov plummeted to the ground, his spacecraft engulfed in a devastating explosion upon impact. In that moment, he became the first known man to die in spaceflight. Komarov's death sent shockwaves through the Soviet Union and the world.
Moscow. The people paid homage to cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov, relatives, friends, brother spacemen, government and party heads, honoring the hero of the Soviet Union, whose tragic death marks another chapter in man's conquest of space. Komarov's ashes begin their journey to an honored last resting place in the Kremlin wall, alongside those of other Russian men of greatness. Komarov's wife led the sad procession to Red Square. Pioneer spaceman Gagarin paid tribute to his comrade as the urn containing the ashes was carried to its final home. Vladimir Komarov, cosmonaut, husband, father, and hero of the Soviet Union, had given his life. He will long be remembered as a great space explorer.
It was a stark reminder that even the most skilled and dedicated individuals were not immune to the dangers of space travel. The impact of Komarov's sacrifice extended far beyond the Soviet Union. In 1971, a commemorative plaque and fallen astronaut sculpture were left on the Moon, honoring Komarov and 13 other USSR cosmonauts and NASA astronauts who lost their lives during the space race.
About 20 feet north of Rover 1, in a small subtle crater, there's a simple plaque with 14 names. And those are the names in alphabetical order of all the astronauts and cosmonauts who have died in the pursuit of exploration of space. Near it is a small figure representing a fallen astronaut.
These memorials serve as a poignant reminder of the bravery and dedication of those who gave their lives in the pursuit of knowledge and progress. They also underscore the importance of international cooperation in space exploration, as the challenges and risks are too great for any one nation to bear alone. As we reflect on the life and legacy of Vladimir Komarov, we are reminded of the incredible sacrifices made by the pioneers of space exploration. Their courage and determination paved the way for the advancements we enjoy today, and their stories serve as an inspiration for future generations of explorers and dreamers. In the end, Vladimir Komarov's tragic tale is not just one of loss, but also one of hope and perseverance. His unwavering commitment to his craft and his selfless dedication to protecting his fellow cosmonauts will forever be remembered as a shining example of the human spirit's indomitable will to explore, discover, and push the boundaries of what is possible. July 15, 1975. The first cooperative Apollo-Soyuz mission is launched. With two separate flights, the Apollo and Soyuz spacecrafts dock in space, and the two commanders, Tom Stafford and Alexei Leonov, exchange the first international handshake. This act can be seen to symbolically end the space race, paving the way for a future of peace between Russia and the United States.
Control, apparently the TPI maneuver was indeed successful. Tom Stafford reported from Apollo that he was station keeping with Soyuz. Both control centers, Moscow and Houston, have given a go for docking.
Soyuz, Apollo, track switches. I need you.
Contact. Capture.
Okay, the camera. Ah! Passenger. Got it. Okay, hold there. It'll stay open. Go ahead. Go ahead, Tom. Lexi. Mr. Moment. Okay, turn on the camera. Hit the remote. Okay. Here. Camera.
For Stoli vodka, Moscow vodka, etc. I took containers with coffee, with borscht, and applied those labels on those containers. And so when we sat down to eat in the vehicle, according to the Russian tradition, we must celebrate our first meeting. So they were very uncomfortable, but they went ahead and opened the containers and said, let's have a drink to our first meeting. And once they started drinking, they realized that this was borscht.
After 2 days, we docked and spent 2 days together, undocked, redocked again in a test, then finally undocked, and we slowly started drifting off our own way. We're about 30, 40 miles apart.